Dr. Bhaskar, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Anna University, Chennai. Area of specialization is software engineering and database system. Guided more than 12 research scholars, published more than 40 national and international papers. Is a reviewer and editorial board member in international journals.
Welcome to the UGC lecture series on computer science. In this, we are particularly talking about a subject, software engineering. In the previous episode, we have looked at what the definition of software is. We have already looked at what the different parts of the software, what are the different myths of existing in software. But in this particular series, we'll be looking at software development lifecycle models. The goal of software engineering is to provide models and processes that lead to the production of well documented, maintainable software in a manner that is predictable. Here, for example, if I am giving you a specification, say for example a library management system, that should carry the documentation also, that should have well defined operating procedure, and that should carry a software. That is what I have defined software to be as. Software, nothing but programs and operating procedure and documentation. So these three put together, we are defining again well documented and maintainable software. The period of time that starts when the software product is conceived in sense when we acquire a particular software, that time we are taking into account, and ends when the product is no longer available for use. So we say that this software doesn't wear and tear. So it has got its own time period where it can end. So we talk about the product and it's no longer available for use. The software life cycle typically includes a requirements phase, design phase, implementation phase, test phase, installation and checkout phase, operation and maintenance, and sometimes retirement phase. This is not quite often used in almost all the projects, but retirement phase is set for fewer level of projects where we mention the time period also. But here we have to note the point, we start with requirements phase where we analyze given a set of requirements. With the set of requirements we go in for a clear picturization of design. We go for implementation, that means our coding, then test it, install and checkout phase, operation and maintenance phases. The first model, which was quite very well known to everybody, is build and fix model, where given any level of project, we often intend to do this model alone. We don't check out what is required, but we directly start doing the coding. So that is what this model is concentrating on. This model has only two phases. The first phase is the build code phase and the second phase is fix phase. So in the build code phase you directly start coding, and in the fix phase you fix up the errors. This fixing up error, this fixing up faults, so there is quite a lot of difference between these two aspects, error and fault. Error happens only when you start coding and you yourself do the testing, but fault happens when it is given to your testing engineer or when you give it to the customer who tests it and says this is the error which is happening. So that particular error is said to be as a fault. So with this build and fix model we have two phases. You start directly coding and you fix up the problem. So this is the explanation which carries for build and fix model. Product is constructed without specification or any attempt at design. We very well know that without design or without gathering the requirements, if I start directly doing the code, at some point of time I might come across any specific error. So that should be rectified. So that is the greatest disadvantage which I find it out, write out, I read this particular model. This model has an ad hoc approach and not defined well, and it is a simple two-phase model, build code and fix model. To what sort of applications this particular model is suitable? If you look at the suitability, suitable for small programming exercises of 100 to 200 lines, where if you are asked to give specifications, like if you are asked to program it for if you are asked to program it for a Fibonacci series, when you are asked to do a simple programming which carries about 100 to 200 lines, where people generally do not analyze on what the problem is. So on that particular sequences, you will directly start coding on it and use it. And the second point says unsatisfactory for software for any reasonable size. Code soon becomes unfixable and unenhanceable. So you cannot enhance from there on, because you do not carry commands for it, you do not have a proper design where you wanted to remodify the code, so it is not enhanceable. No room for structured designs. We are not quite bothered about the design here, so we do not give room for a structured design. Maintenance is practically not possible. So once we have followed a typical methodology of whatever we have seen in the first slide, like analysis, design, implementation and testing, there comes the part of maintenance. But now we do not have the aspect of maintenance. Why? Because we have started directly doing the code and we go for the test. So where is the part of design there? So any modifications which I wanted to do specifically cannot be altered. So maintenance is practically not possible here. So those are treated to be as advantage of that particular model. Although it is treated as an advantage, it can be, coding can be done only for 100 or 200 lines, whereas the same points can be taken as a disadvantage of that model also. Of all those disadvantages, with that into perception, we will go for the next set of model, which is called waterfall model. This model is named waterfall model because its diagrammatic representation resembles a cascade of waterfalls. Just have a look at the diagram which has been presented here. This carries all the phases which I have given it in the first slide, the definition of software development life cycles slide. The first phase says requirements definition, the second phase is system and software design, the third phase is implementation and unit testing. This unit testing, otherwise called module based testing, and you go in for integration and system testing, and the last phase is your operation and maintenance phase. Let us explain one and each and everything. I give a problem. As I have told you, you take a general student result management system. What will be the expectation of a customer? What will be given to the developer to be produced as a right set of output? You will be giving the developer that you wanted to generate a result, you wanted to generate a report, likewise you will give a n number of sequence. So that we will take it into mind. So the developer first has to understand what my requirements are. So what will I getting in terms of input, how I should process on it, and what will be given to the customer. So those things I will try analyzing on the first phase, which is called as requirements engineering phase. So at the end of requirements engineering, what I will be producing it to you is an SRS document, software requirements specification. SRS stands for software requirements specification document. So that gives a clear understanding of what the customer provides me and what the developer has to do and what the developer has to give back to the customer as a product. So that is the first level of understanding with the requirements engineering phase. Now looking at the second phase, after having collected all these requirements, now we will go for the design phase. So how can we convert the given requirements in a proper diagrammatic sequential manner? So I have a first block, I convert this, the output of this is given for as an input for the second block, this output of the second block is given as the input of third block. So this particular sequence is to be explained as a diagram. So as you have studied your flow chart or any architecture diagram as a part of your syllabus, so those are the basic design aspects which I am trying to explain here. The third phase is your implementation and unit testing phase, where at the level of implementation in whatever platform, in whatever programming language the customer is asking you to provide, that particular programming language you will try to adopt it, and the developer has to do a part of testing at his own level because he knows what type of coding he has done. So the developer has to do his own coding fundamentally to test whether that particular keywords or whether that particular value is working fine for the given program. So that particular testing is called as unit testing. The fourth phase is said to be as integration and system testing. It's not one particular developer who will be developing the whole lot of application. So there will be different developers who will be involved in the development of a particular application. So we just have to integrate the modules that have been developed. So as a part of unit testing, what we have done is we have concentrated on a specific module, module 1, module 2, module 3. Like individual module testing, I said as unit testing. Now we need to integrate module 1 and module 2. Say student database collection would have been done by somebody, staff database collection would have been done by somebody. Now I need to allocate which staff handles what subject for which group of students. So that should be explained, and that is what is the integration level which I mean by. So that is clearly explained at the fourth phase, integration. And system testing actually means the overall product based testing. So after you completely develop the entire product, that means the individual module, you go down one stage, module combination. The next stage you combine all the modules, which you say it as system based testing. The last module is said to be as operation and maintenance. You will give it to different levels of people who will basically operate with the product that has been developed. Like as you say beta release, before you actually develop and release a product, you will give it for testing to different levels of users. So that we say it as beta release. So you give it to different customers who will test the application, and finally you give it to the hands of the actual customers who will operate on the product that has been developed and which should be maintainable also. So these are the different stages, but the previous slide carries the explanation of why it is being defined as waterfall model. This is a diagrammatic representation that resembles cascade of waterfalls. Now just with that perception, you just have to look at a waterfall on this particular slide. Say if I drop a bucket full of water on top of this, it falls and ends at the final stage. So it is a step by step process where the water is carried from the topmost level to the bottommost level. And you can think of why I have given a reverse looping in this stage. If I employ this particular reverse methodology, which I call it as feedback, the feedback which I get it out of a software design is given to the requirements definition, the feedback from the implementation methodology given back to the design for correction. So this loop is called feedback loop, which again can be said it as iterative waterfall model. So now we will have quite a bit of understanding about waterfall model. This method is easy to understand. So with a stage by stage approach, I think you are now very clear about what this particular model is. So that is the reason why we are saying this model to be a very easy understanding model, easy to understand and reinforce the notion of define before design and design before code. You just have to look at the same example. When you look at this particular diagram, here you provide the requirements definition. After you define clearly, you go for the design. So once your definition is not clear, you cannot move on to the next stage. Once your design stage is clear, you can move on to the coding stage. So that means after you complete the complete set of requirements, you can proceed to the next stages. So that is the explanation which is given here, the notion of define before you design. So if I wanted to typically go in for a design, I should have done my define complete and design before you actually implement it. So you just have to keep in mind when you are studying about waterfall model, these two strategies, define before design and design before code. The model expects complete and accurate requirements, unrealistic early in the process, which is unrealistic. Let us have a small break. We will come back after the problems in waterfall model after the break. Welcome back after the break. Now we are explaining something about waterfall model, and at this stage we will be explaining about the problems which are encountered during the waterfall model stage. So what we have looked at this stage is, it is difficult to define all the requirements at the beginning of the project. This model is not suitable to accommodate any changes. The working version of the system is not seen until late in the project's life. The fourth point is, it does not scale up well to large projects. That is what I have already explained. If you go on for a larger projects, say you wanted a coding of 2 lakh size, 2 lakh lines of code size. In that particular sequence, I do not want to see the complete of the design. I am not in a position to give you the complete of requirements, and at the end, after 6 months period, I am not in a position to see the complete of the product. Maybe at 1 month span, I wanted to see a little of your implementation. So that cannot be seen by the help of waterfall model. So that is one of the main disadvantage. Real projects are rarely sequential. When you take up real projects, every now and then, if I have some corrections, if I have some modifications, I will try to alter every now and then, which your design should accommodate. So this particular model cannot accommodate any changes. So real projects generally do not prefer to this particular methodology. After having seen this, we will go for incremental process models. They are effective in the situations where requirements are defined precisely and there is no confusion about the functionality of the final product. So once you are clear about your objective, you are clear about what your goals are, so then you can give the customers can give the developers the clear understanding of what my expectations are. So that is clearly given. The functionality of the product is clearly mentioned to the developer, so that should be given, so which can lead to a better development of the product. At every cycle, a usable product is given to the customer. Popular particularly when we have to quickly deliver a limited functionality system. Say for example, this particular student result management system will be popular once we give a little bit of, say, result report preparation system, which involves student involvement, staff involvement and subject involvement. Once when I gather these 3 informations together, I think we can very well plan and come out with the results. So that is the limited set of functionality. Although I cannot generate the previous CGPAs, I can generate the current GPA and find out how exactly this can be taken forward. With the disadvantage of the waterfall model, we are going for one more enhancement, which is called iterative enhancement model. This model has the same phases as the waterfall model, but with fewer restrictions. Generally, the phases occur in the same order as in the waterfall model, but they may be conducted in several cycles. So what this actually means? As you already know, software engineering, once we say the word software engineering, the point which we have to make it in our mind is ADCT principle: analysis, design, coding and testing principles. Here, although almost all the model talks about the same flow: analysis, design, coding and testing principles, but in this iterative enhancement model we are very specific. Say for example, one version 1 of any particular product developed. If I wanted to make any corrections to that particular version, I flow through ADCT, I release version 1. The familiar example which you might know is Windows 95, that was the first level, 95. Then with some enhancements on it, you gone for Windows 98. With few more enhancements on it, we have gone for Windows XP. Likewise, different releases of the same product has been given with some requirements change, which was incorporated on design. Later on it was replicated on implementation, tested very well and given for operation. So that was the basic understanding with this particular model of iterative enhancement. Usable product is released at the end of each cycle, with each release providing additional functionality. Customers and developers specify as many requirements as possible and prepare a SRS document. Customers and developers initially meet, they agree on certain requirements. So customers generally provide requirements which developers will take it as such, and any modifications, any enhancement that can be developed, that can be given on these set of requirements can be enhanced. Those are structured and can be given in format of SRS. Developers and customers then prioritize these requirements. Developers implement the specified requirements in one or more cycles of design, implementation and test based on the defined priorities. So this is the typical diagram which is given for the iterative enhancement model, where exactly you will have the same flows, but I think I have given the explanation in the first slide itself, where I have said any corrections that are made with the design can be done in the requirements, which was not possible in your waterfall model. Anything that is through in the design can be taken to a detailed design manner. If that requires some corrections, that can be taken backwards and can be modified in the architectural design. That even has, if it has some problems, can be taken backwards and it can be corrected on requirements. Likewise, as such, whatever we have explained with the waterfall model, this takes up the same scenario. The first block says it is an analysis model, the second two blocks says it is a design, the third block says it is coding and unit testing, fourth block says integration and system testing, and fifth box is your operation and maintenance. As such, what we have seen with the waterfall model, it is the same, but this carries a reverse engineering process. We carry backwards whatever problems we have encountered during each and every phase. If we wanted to correct, we can correct it here, whereas it was not possible with the waterfall model. Now we will look at rapid application development model, which is the next model. This model is developed by IBM in 1980s, where the complete of user participation is essential. Take for example, this slide clearly picturizes what this particular RAD is. Have a look at all these 7 trees. The requirements specification was defined like this. This was the requirement given by the customer and understood by the developer. So he understands the requirement to be of this layer. The developers understood it in this way. So he will place a thread in between, so which was not comfortable to accommodate people who wanted to swing. This is how the problem was solved before. It was tied like this, and where people cannot use this. This is how the problem was solved now. After having understood in this particular manner, we wanted to solve it in this way. Even with this particular possibility, we cannot efficiently swing. We can sit on the tree, but we cannot efficiently swing. When you look at this particular thing, where we have cut the tree like this and we wanted to hold it, in between we tie the knot. This is a program after debugging, but this is how the program is described by the marketing department. So they say that it was flawed, it was provided with a chair, but the actual solution was given in this format, which is not actually mentioned. But the product, at least I want it in this manner, even with the tire it was satisfactory, right. So this is how the problems has been taken out in different manner, which I think even if you satisfy 90% of the levels, I think it is a better product. A rapid application development model builds a rapid prototype, give it to the user for evaluation and obtains feedback, and the prototype is defined. Prototype are generally a set of rules which are defined for this particular application. So we are trying to alter slightly what was existing in the ADCT principle. So with the previous two models like waterfall and iterative enhancement model, where we have studied the different stages as requirements engineering, design, implementation and code testing, then we have gone for operation and maintenance, which we are trying it as requirements planning, user description, construction and cutover. During my requirements planning, I will be doing both of my analysis and design phase. At the user description level, I will be again correcting those design methodology and I will be projecting it in a small manner. In the construction phase, I will be implementing it, and in the cutover phase I will be delivering it. But you can ask me a question of why specifically this RAD model. Any application that is to be developed within a short span of 60 to 90 days, that application takes up this rapid application development model. So keep in mind, any application which was said for build and fix model 100 to 200 lines of code. For waterfall model, it was like whatever might be the size, it will follow the sequence. Iterative, if you wanted to correct with the previous model, you can, but RAD says you have to be very specific on the time period, 60 days to 90 working days. So that is the level of expectation. Now we will summarize what we have seen so far. We have started defining with what software development life cycle is, right out from the starting of the requirements provided by the customer till I develop and deliver, maintain, till the delivery. I will talk everything in terms of software development life cycle. Within that, I have seen build and fix model, waterfall model, iterative waterfall model and rapid application development model. With this build and fix model, what we have seen is it has got only two phases, build and test. But with waterfall model, we do it structurally, where we start out with requirements engineering phase, we go in for a design, we say implementation on the particular platform, we test it and give it for operation. In the third model, we do it like iterative waterfall model, where any corrections that are to be made which was not possible on waterfall model, if those corrections are to be incorporated, that can be made by going on the previous level. So that is the advantage of iterative waterfall model. The last one says rapid application, where we are very much explicit on the time period, 60 to 90 working days. Some questions which I would like to ask you. Can you list the different stages of software development life cycle? What are the disadvantages of waterfall model? At the moment, you can take it like what are the advantages of iterative waterfall model? Maybe the disadvantages of waterfall model becomes advantages of iterative waterfall model. The third question is, what is the advantage of using rapid application development model? Thank you.